Today we are making one of the... I look like shit. Give me a second. That's a little better. We're gonna make a tough one today. Welcome back to Bourdain.
Everybody should know how to use a knife. Use everything, waste nothing. Let's start at the beginning. It ain't that hard, okay?
I hope you're doing well. If not, we can still fucking cook. My name is Mitch May. We're learning how to cook with Anthony Bourdain's cookbook, doing every freaking recipe for the first time. Today's recipe is one of those that I've been holding off on because it's a little challenging and there is a lot of words. Quenelles De Brochet. As Bourdain says, it is basically the French version of gefilte fish. Now, personally, not a big fan of the fish of gefilte. This, I'm hoping, is gonna be a little different. We're taking what would be pike and blending it up into little football-like shapes, poaching them, and then making a delicious sauce. Also, we have some head-on friends joining the party. There's a lot to do. Ooh, sorry, buddy. I have Bourdain's book linked down below if you'd like to grab it in the description of this video. If not, just follow along and watch me do my best. Before we do anything, we have to make these quenelles, which I already did ahead of time. I got them chilling in the fridge. Let me show you how I did that. It wasn't easy.
All right, let's tackle these things. First step, we have to head over to the stove. In a medium pot, we add 2 ounces of butter and 4 ounces of whole milk. Now, Bourdain has us bring this up to a boil. However, I am not going to use high heat because I did that in the past. There was a skin, there was nasty stuff. So over medium heat, I'm gonna let this melt and come up to a simmer. Once we get those tiny little bubbles, this is when we add 2 ounces of flour and mix vigorously until it does not stick to the pan. And I used a whisk here instead of a wooden spoon as Bourdain recommends. Probably should have used a wooden spoon because the whisk got the clumps of flour caught inside of it. We then remove this from the heat and let cool slightly and add 2 egg yolks. We're supposed to add them one by one, but Mitch just does what Mitch does and added 2 at the same time. It's time to break out the wooden spoon. It was creating an almost Play-Doh-like texture, so I kind of chopped and smushed it until we got a relatively well-combined mixture. Now it's time for the fun part, a whole lot of fish. This is cod. I could not find pike, but these are cod fillets. They were kind of on sale, and we're looking for 5 pounds of this stuff where I try to get the moisture out because we're going to process this. We then slice these into little chunks just to make it easier for our food processor, and this was actually pretty satisfying. With a sharp ass knife, we whip out our brand spanking new food processor, which was recommended to me from the comments in a past video. We add 4 ounces of heavy cream along with the remaining egg whites from our 2 egg yolks. A little salt and pepper to taste. I kind of winged it here and went with white pepper just to maintain that nice white opaque color. The anticipation kills me as I use this for the first time, pulsing initially and then using it at high speed to get a nice paste-like mixture. I noticed the processor was struggling a bit, so I added about a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of heavy cream just to loosen things up and puree this as Bourdain asks for. Right here is what I'm looking for it to kind of toss around and mix everything thoroughly. We then add our lovely codfish paste to a metal bowl and wrestle with that metal blade as is so common with food processors. Next, we fold in the egg yolk mixture to the cod. This didn't work out super well at all. I wrestled with this with the rubber spatula for 4 to 5 minutes and got nowhere, so I decided to whip out an old-fashioned potato mixer, and eventually we did get a combined dough-like thing. I don't even know what this is called at this point. Now it's time to make quenelles, the challenging part of this entire recipe. We have a large pot of heavily salted boiling water. I take a little bit of that water and use that to warm up our spoon. Using the spoon, we kind of scrape the surface of the mixture, and ideally it forms a smooth football-like shape as you use the bowl to shape this dumpling-like version of gefilte fish, basically. This was kind of a tester. It turned out okay, so now it's time to go over to the stove. I shape the quenelle and drop it into the water. It just doesn't want to come out. It does not want to release from the spoon. I almost burned myself in the process, but eventually it does come off, and one by one we add these quenelles, struggling with the spoon, getting sticky cod stuff on it, but as they float to the surface, that is when I start to pull them. Bourdain asks for 10 minutes for each quenelle, but I found once they rise to the top, I felt like they were done. Remove and let rest on a paper towel. A slotted spoon made much more sense here, and in an effort to reduce the gunk sticking to our spoon, I did oil up a spoon and it worked out a little better. I don't know if you should oil up a spoon every time before making a quenelle, just a little trick I tried. If you know any tricks making quenelles or any advice for shaping these things, please fire away. About half an hour later, we have our quenelles shaped, made a bit of a mess. We got some pretty ones out of this, at least some that'll make a hopefully attractive thumbnail. But that's it. The perfectionist in me is crying. On to the next step.
Now it's time to make the sauce, which Bourdain calls for crawfish or crayfish or mud bugs. I couldn't find them, unfortunately, live, even frozen, but I did find these lovely looking head-on shrimps. Figure we're gonna go after these guys. Peel them. Ooh, they have a weird texture to them. Peel them apart. As Bourdain says, you can substitute little shells of lobster. I'm assuming these will work as well. First things first, we have to name it. This kind of looks like a pat. to me. Not at all representative of an ex-sous chef who I fucking hated. We're gonna take off these little strings because I assume they're gonna burn. And then from there, I'm just gonna wiggle off the head. Oh no, there goes the head. See ya. There is wonderful juice in there, by the way. That's like the tamale. And then we go about removing the shell. I wish that came off easier. Gonna dig under with my thumb and wrap around. And one more here. And just pinch this off. Kind of came right out-ish. And now I want to try a cool trick I saw online, because I know the vein isn't too appetizing for some. This woman took a toothpick and she used it to get out the vein. She went in at the kind of the exterior. Oh wow, it kind of just came right out. It didn't come out. So she went in between the two segments here, stuck her toothpick in, and from there, ideally, the vein should reveal itself. Now here, it didn't do a great job. Clean it up, call it a day. Let's try one more. I pinch this off. Didn't really work successfully. We're gonna try our toothpick trick. We're gonna get in there between the two jaws, pull up, reveal our intestine, and it should just squirm right out. Yep, there it goes. Now that's nice and cleaned up. Get rid of the jaws, remove the head. Now we will remove Doug's shell. I'm kind of an ass. But you know what? It's a reflection of my own insecurities and self-doubt, so. And no, Doug Skinner, I ain't talking about you, man. You're awesome. Simple enough, I'm gonna zoom through this and I will catch you when I'm done. Whew, it's starting to smell. Okay, that took some time. We have all of our lovely shells and our magically produced shrimp. Over to the pot. In a large saucepan, heat 2 tablespoons of oil over medium-high heat. While our oil is coming up to temp, little comment of the week. Josh, give me a solid tip on how to caramelize onions. This whole channel is about really learning how to cook, drinking freaking wine. Joshua, thank you for the tip. When I go to caramelize onions, I do add a little bit of water now. And you know, if you have any tips, like watching me peel the shrimp, you know how to do something better. Maybe a dish you've made, anything really. Comment anything. I freaking love comments. I live for them. And also food. I'm actually gonna be a little selective with our shells. I am definitely adding these freaking heads. I don't want to crowd our pan, so we're gonna leave it there. I'm going out on a limb here and saying these heads might be better than the original recipe to use crawfish. Cook that for another 3 to 4 minutes and check back. I'm gonna make the executive decision to pull some of the heads out just to make room for our onions. Then add 2 ounces of tomato paste. Along with that, 1 tablespoon of flour. Mix well and cook for 2 minutes. Yeah, we're getting a little burnage. Add 1 ounce of cognac and 4 ounces of white wine, scraping the bottom of the pan with your wooden spoon to dislodge and deglaze. Of course, after about 5 minutes over medium-high heat, add 4 ounces of water. I'm adding more. Gotta simmer for a while, man. Add our shells back in. We need much more water. Gonna simmer for 25 minutes. Season with salt and pepper to taste. Is looking and smelling freaking amazing. We're gonna pull this off heat. We have the oven at 375 degrees. Sauce is looking sexy. I am gonna get the heads out of there. Just got some juice on the book. I'm sure Bourdain would not give a strain. I really gotta get a bigger strainer, dude. Just an absolutely magical smelling sauce. Now, you might be wondering, when did the shrimp come into play? Now, I'm going to cook them in the sauce, and then we're gonna finish them off in the casserole dish. A lot of components with this here French cooking. And just nestle them in there. While our sauce is coming up, let's dump off these quenelles into our casserole dish. Where'd they go? I don't even know. There they are. Add some shrimp heads, because why the hell not? Check on our shrimps. I think they're getting nice and cooked. I just feel that, yeah, I'd say they're done. Final strainage, just pour quickly, boo-doo-doo-da. I'll those will go in the oven for about 30 minutes. Ideally, the shrimp will not be overdone. Also, if you're into these kind of videos, think about subscribing. It supports me, it means a lot. I really didn't think about subscribing until I started making videos myself. Another way to support me, I do have a Ko-Fi down below in the description. Throw me $4, $5, get a shout out. And also, you know, support buying a bunch of peppers for me or support buying a piece of cod. And also, look at this squirrel over here. He's lounging on the freaking fence. What the hell? Yo. Anyway, that is something you could do. I'll catch you back in 30 minutes and let's plate this thing. Crack open that oven, turns into 3,000 degrees in here. It sure looks the part. The shrimp, not overcooked. The quenelle dumpling gefilte fish thing. Again, not a big gefilte fish guy, but hopefully the sauce can kind of save it. That is very interesting. That is very interesting. I've never had anything like that texture-wise. It's like a potato, but not. The flavor, very mild. The sauce, no, I did add some butter and a little cornstarch to thicken it up. Had to cheat there. I think the texture can be a little off-putting for some people. Again, like nothing I've had before. Shrimp are delicious. I almost kind of just want to toss it in a pasta dish. I know my Italian is kind of coming out. And we did modify a few things using cod instead of pike, but overall I think we got the gist of the recipe. I'm happy I made it, that's for sure. It's unique, which is Mitch's way of saying it's, yeah, but I like it. We just made Quenelles De Brochet. I'm sorry I butchered that, but thank you for spending your time with me. This was Back to Bourdain.
Stay organized, clean up after yourself. You do the best you can.